way too many motherfuckers in this bitch not to treat you right, baby. When you're not around, I could be the one you call it. Hit me on my line, baby.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Backstage with BeU. Today in the show we have Era, a highly credited and emerging artist in the game, and one of the top engineers in the game. Era, how we doing today, man?
We're doing good, man.
Awesome, man. Excited to have you on the show. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your come up and your story of how you got to where you are right now?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a long one, but I guess I could just start with I started making music in middle school. I was, I think, 14, and I remember just being in class with my friends and listening to some trash ass music. I'm like, bro, I can make music way better than this. And they're like, all right, bet, go ahead, do it. So I'm like, all right. I went home the next day. I think I found Audacity, and I had this $2 microphone that people use for online school. I pulled up Kid Cudi was one of my favorite artists at the time, and I pulled up the Prayer instrumental, and I literally just wrote down all my homies' names down on a piece of paper, and I just started recording, and I just literally freestyled and just talk shit about all of them. I recorded it, whatever, got the MP3, and the next day I brought it to school, and I showed my friends thinking yo, this shit's about to be funny, all this shit, but they're like, bro, this shit kind of slaps, this shit's hard, your voice is dope on it, it's dope, you can really do this, shit for real. And I was like, all right, that's not the reaction I thought I was gonna get, but the enjoyment that I got making the song and doing all that, that kind of sparked what it is today. So ever since then, I kind of just started upgrading, doing whatever. I started recording on FL Studios, and that's kind of the beginning of everything. And my freshman year, I started taking it more serious and writing and doing projects. And my freshman year, or the end of my freshman year is when I did my first mixtape. And from then, it was just kind of upgrading until my senior year, when it was really serious. When I was a local artist, and I was doing shows, and I was actually sponsored by one of the biggest clothing brands in town. So it became a big thing, and that was more on the rap side of things, because I feel everyone kind of starts as a rapper.
Yeah.
But when I moved to LA is when I really started to take more of the singing, or the more melodic approach on things. And it was a tough transition, but overall I feel I made the full transition, and it's everything before that was kind of to prepare me for what I'm doing now, which is the more melodic stuff.
Right.
But it's been crazy. It feels everything before LA was kind of the fucking the groundwork and the foundation and everything. But as soon as I got to LA, it's everything restarted. I had to relearn a bunch of things and start pretty much from square one again. When I moved to LA, I had learned how to engineer, just because I got tired of trying to depend on other people to record me, or to just find sounds that what I wanted to sound like. I feel no one could ever really get it 100%. So I went to school for engineering, came to LA and did my internship. And during my internship, I was at Electric Film Management, which is now a huge label. But at the time, they only had Mike Stud and Conrad Sewell, and it was kind of, instead of it being a normal internship where they just make you make cookies and make you clean and just all kinds of bullshit, it was more of an apprenticeship. And the guy who was managing it at the time, Franny, really put me in a position to where I could learn and not focus about all the other things that other internships will make you do for years before they even let you work on any music or be a part of anything. So while I was there, I was already like, they were like putting me in like sessions to record with songwriters, and like that's like in the beginning when they got Louis Bell, and Louis Bell started working with Post, and Post like started coming around, and we would do sessions, and that's where he was doing Stony, and that's when I started working. I was assisting on the session when they did Congratulations, and that was like my first big,
damn, dude.
Yeah, so that was like my first big like thing like in the industry, like when we were working and like doing all that. And then from there, there was a lot of other stuff, but from there, I got a job opportunity at this other studio, at the Legendary Music Group, and it was like a producer who like had worked with like Eminem and like all this shit back in the day, but he had just gotten like his whole situation. But with him, it was kind of weird. It was like the first time, and like it was like kind of like taking that chance, like to see like, all right, cool, like this is like actually like a job, like to where like things get better. But like I was there for like I think 4 or 5 months, and like one random ass day, like he was like, yo, like he like changed like the fucking like codes or some shit to the door, and like kind of like pretty much saying like, yo, like I can't, like you're not working here no more type shit. And I was just like, what the fuck? So like I kind of hit like a dead end, and like at that point I was like, fuck, like what am I gonna do? And like I have this whole thing like in life that everything happens for a reason. Like nothing just happens just because. But like at that time, like I was trying to figure shit out financially. Like my fucking car had just like took a shit on me. Like I was trying. It was just everything bad that could happen happened. But like at the end of that week, I got a call from Val, which was one of the friends from the people from Electric Field, and he said like he needed like a studio set up. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, like I got you. Went to the spot downtown, set up a studio, whatever, did my thing, and like before I left, I'm like, yo, like if you ever need an engineer, just let me know, like I got you, like I'll come through and do it. He's like, all right, bet. I didn't think much of it, but like 2 days later, at like 3 a.m, like he hit me up. He's like, yo, like can you come engineer? I'm like, yeah, sure. I came through, and it was Makonnen who was the artist. I had no idea who it was gonna be. So it was Makonnen. We did the session, everything went well, and like from then on, like I just kept working with them. Like they would hit me up like every day. I was working with them, and during this time is when like him and Peep started linking, and they started linking. We started working, and like they got this idea of like, let's do a whole mixtape, let's do a whole like project. But they wanted to like record in London, and I was working at like, because I was doing the studio shit, but I was also like, it wasn't enough for me to like not have to have a job.
Right.
And I think I was working at like Banana Republic at the time, like at the Grove. Like I was bitter as fuck, bro. Like every time I like clock in, bro, like I was just like in the worst mood. I was like the worst, like whatever, bro. But I was there, and I got the call from like the label, and they're like, hey, like Pete really fucks with you, and like they're gonna do this project in London, and they want to know like if you can go out there and like work with them. Like it was like 2 weeks or something, and I was like, hell yeah, like I'm going, like whatever. But like I had to figure out like my passport situation. Like I told them this, I'm like, yeah, like I need my passport, I need all this shit, and they're like, don't even worry about it. Like they literally got me a passport in like 2 or 3 days or some shit like that. And like I don't know what the fuck, some like Illuminati shit, but they got it. They got it all set, and like whatever. Like, and I had like a whole week of like work, and I was like, I didn't even tell them shit. I just left. I'm like, fuck this shit. I was like on my break at work, and I just like left. And yeah, so went to London. We worked on this whole project. Like it was like one of the like the dopest experiences I think of my career so far, just because of like how organic like everything was. Right. And like with my time there is when we recorded Text Me, which is a song that we have. It was pretty like I said, like everything was natural, like nothing ever felt like weird or anything. But like it was one of those things where like he had done like the hook, and like before we had left the studio, I was like, bro, like this song is fire. Like, do you think I could like do something on it? He's like, yeah, bro, fuck yeah. Like I didn't even know like you were really making music like that. My brother, do it, go ahead. So I'm like, all right, cool. They left, I stayed and did my part to it. And the next day, like I showed it to him, and he was like amazed. Like not that it's even like a fucking like a crazy ass like, but I think he was just more amazed. Like he thought I was just gonna like make like do some dumb shit on it or like do some like whatever. But like he was like truly amazed. Like, bro, I fucking love this. He's like, just like leave it like that. Like I'll put a verse on it like when we get back in the studio. Cause it was like towards the end of like our time in London. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of left alone for like a really long time, and from then we got back to the States, whatever. All of the shit happened, like he went on tour, like, you know, like everyone knows the rest, and it was kind of a tough time. I think even like a lot of things that people don't see like in the background, like there was a lot of shit with like labels and like politics that like it was just like a bunch of shit. And like to be honest with you, like I never in my life, like unless somebody like leaked it, like that song was ever gonna come out, just for the simple fact that it's like who the fuck is Era? Like is this random ass dude that's on this song with like Pete, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was one of those things, and like a year and some change later, I was talking to Mezzy. Mezzy is the dude that did like the Girls video, and like he did a lot of things for Pete, and like he was just like really close as like we're all of us with the whole situation. And he was like, bro, like the song is fire, like I feel like you need to contact Liza, which is his mom, and like you need to just let her know that the song exists, and like just as simple as that. So I talked to her and I told her what I was. I hit her up, and like she was just like really, really like appreciative to the fact that I would like reach out and like just tell her everything. We talked about everything. Like we talked for like 2 hours, I think, on the phone, just about everything. Like she was at the end of the phone call, she told me that she wanted to find like a home for songs like these, like songs that he worked on with other people, where like an album that like a Peep album wouldn't like necessarily fit, but like something where like it's just collaborators, and like that was like the early idea of like the Everybody's Everything album layout, and like how everything was put out. That's how that happened. But as all of this stuff is happening, and like after everything, like I went back to like freelancing and just working with like a bunch of artists. Like I've worked with like everybody you can think of, but it ended up being with my roommate was working at Atlantic, and that's when Taz had just gotten signed to Atlantic, and they just like meshed really well. Like Taz is like, he's a really like, in the beginning, like he was a really like shy dude, but like once he like got comfortable with you, like he was just like, it was just like a really like good friendship. Like if he got comfortable with you, it means like he really fucks with you. If like he would clown you, like that means he really fucks with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like that was like the situation with like him and my roommate Frankie, and pretty much like Taz, it got to the point where Taz was like, look, I'm about to get like this label deal where I can have my own label, and like once I get that, like I want you to quit your assistant job at Atlantic, and I want you to be my like a personal assistant. And he's like, yeah, sure, like whatever you say, like, because you know, like people out here will say shit and like it'll never happen. That's like you never count on shit until it's like happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like a few months later, he got his deal. I think he signed to Alamo in the beginning, and sure enough, he's like, fuck, bro, like, I just got this shit, like, quit. Come on, like, we got work to do. So he quit, did that. And, like, building a label, like, obviously, like, you need to have people you trust. You need to have, like, your engineer, your producers, or everything. So he, like, wanted to have me around, but, like, I kind of, like, in the beginning, would just have a bunch of shit going on, like, freelance on my own. So, like, I was kind of, like, in and out. But it kind of got to the point where I like had like a decision to make where I was like, I saw the potential of like internet money, like what it was literally like a bunch of friends like making music and like just having like a team of people to like work, you know what I mean? Like do things as like when you're freelance, yeah, like when you're freelance, it's like you're on your own, like you literally like figure out your own steps and like you do like whatever. Right. So like at the time, like I was like, bro, like I can't, like there's something about this like situation that like I just can't miss out on. So I joined the whole thing, and from then like we started working. We signed Trevor Daniel. We had a few other artists who we had like down the road, like it wasn't even like a thing, but Trevor was like the first like big thing that we had, which was like our first official artist. And like we had just Falling like the second day, like we all met. We did like this whole like EP in this whole time period, and with that just like so early, like not knowing, like we all knew like what it was, but obviously like fast forward now, like everyone else knows what the fuck it is. But like I just remember like the whole time just being like doubted like on the whole situation. Like everyone was telling Taz no, like yo, like Trevor's not like shit, like Trevor's not gonna do anything. But like obviously like fast forward,
blew
like
the fuck up. Yeah,
exactly. So that kind of was like the first like glimpse that I saw. Like alright, like Taz knows what he's doing. Like Taz, like obviously like we're onto something good. So fast forward a bunch of like politics and shit. Like we left Alamo and just for a bunch of like other shit. But that's when we got our new situation with 10K Projects, and that's like the whole like Ian, Dior, and like Port Stacy, and working with Tekka and like just doing all that. So like it's only been like more and more.
Right.
And like I know we had talked about earlier where it's like it kind of like started off as like I'm gonna do like this engineering shit to kind of like get my foot in the door and like kind of like do the shit for me myself. But like it ended up being like I got in the door and like I just like stayed busy with it until like it grew into something like big. Like I'm like the go-to engineer for like a lot of these artists. So it kind of like became like a main focus for a while, and that's like when I started realizing like yo, like I have like this is not my dream. Like I'm not like my whole dream isn't to be like somebody's engineer, like somebody's like person who records or like whatever the case may be. Like my dream is like to be more creative. Like that's when I started doing more songwriting for internet money and like more vocal production. Like at the end of the day, like with internet money, my opinion is very trusted. It's not like any situation with an engineer like where you're literally just paid to just like shut the fuck up and like record. Like it's more of a situation where I have a say and like I have like my suggestions mean something, and that's kind of like my median with that. But the benefit of being with internet money is like I have a whole team of producers that I can work with and I can like build my own shit off of. Right. So that's where I've been. Like this year has been like the year where like I've been able to like really like work on my own shit and like put everything like together the way I imagine it. I've been dropping singles, trying to just like try the water out. I feel like I'm not like necessarily ready for a project just for the simple fact that like I want to have like that like I want to know exactly what sound I want to go for before I do something like that.
Right.
But I've dropped I think like 2 or 3 singles in the last like year, and this year I have I've been trying to drop, bro. I have a song that I've been
Redbone's
trying to
fucking
drop.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, Redbone was the last song that I dropped, and what sucked about that is like it dropped during literally right in the beginning of lockdown, so like nobody was really like listening to like music or like even really cared about like that whole thing at the moment, and that was like my first like fuck, like the world is going crazy type shit,
Right,
and
like bad timing.
yeah, so it dropped, so it's kind of bad timing in the beginning, but like as like fast forward like now, like people caught on to it, like people like are listening like more than ever than they were in the beginning. So like the first week like didn't really matter too much for that, because now it's like overpassing like a lot of my other songs in streams. So
yeah, bro, you got a crazy like unique vibe going on. That album you dropped in 2018, Routine, was like crazy. I just listened to that whole thing today again, and like bro, on West Side Homies, like that switch up like halfway through is like crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of like with Routine. That was like my last like I think like still keeping like hip hop or like rap like vibes, but also keeping the melodic shit, because I feel like that was my transition, and that's part of the reason why like I still keep projects like that up, because a lot of my old shit is like down. Like I don't really want people to know me as like the rapper I was when I was like 16.
Yeah, exactly. So, reinvent yourself.
Yeah, it was reinventing myself and finding like what I really want to do. But with Routine, like that was that transition, and like that was me like testing the waters. And like I think with the song Nena, that was like the song that I was like, yeah, like I'm going this lane. Like I want to do shit like this. And then I think after Routine, my first drop was Pilly, and like with Pilly,
that shit's crazy too.
Yeah. Oh no, it was actually 85 Blazer, but that was kind of like still like trying to find it. But Pilly, I feel like that was like I found my voice. I found like what I want to do. Like I love the acoustic shit. Like you even hear it and like text me, even though it was done so long ago. Like the original beat on that was like some trap shit. Like it wasn't even like what it was, but we were, you know, like everything was still in the process, so like nothing was ever like finalized until like the end. But like the acoustic or like the guitar shit, like I really love that. Like I love how like you could just like be so free on it, and then like worry about like the rest of the production like later. Yeah. So that seems to be like the shit that I really like doing. That's why like I did that, and then Philly, and then Pinch You was the later one. That one was really like influenced by like Kid Cudi, because like Kid Cudi is one of my favorite artists as far as like inspiration. And
yeah, how would you describe your like genre of music? Because it's like it's super unique compared to like other shit. Like it's like a little bit of rap and a little bit of like melodic shit, and like it's almost like a Bazzi or some shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you say Bazzi, you say Bazzi, but I don't think I'd ever be like, yo, it's like Bazzi. But
nah, I mean just like different like I'm picking like different things from like
yeah.
You know what I mean?
The thing about it is like I'll tell you what I think personally, but I think what like kind of like how you just explained to me, like I feel like music or like being an artist or like whatever is always like it's an art. So it's like the same way that people are gonna like dissect a piece of artwork. Like it could be a fucking like a painting of a chair, and like some people will be like, yeah, it's a fucking chair, but there'll be some people who's like, wow, like this is like the foundation in which somebody like, you know what I mean, like just some like artistic ass shit. Like people like, for example, like bring back like Nena. Like Nena is a song I made because my niece is like my biggest fan. Like she loves me, like she listens to me like every day, like. But I felt like the music she was listening to was like not what like a little girl should be listening to. Yeah. So I made this whole song like about her because I wanted her to have something to listen to, that not me like saying like fuck that bitch or like whatever, like just some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like she like I made it for her, but like when I dropped it, like people were hitting me up and they were like, yo, like this shit like she really just reminds me of my ex, and like, or like my situation when I was like really depressed or like whatever. Like people can interpret it whatever way they want, as long as it makes you feel the type of way like I did my job. Like it doesn't have to be the same to where like I'm telling you what it is. It doesn't have to be about your niece. It doesn't have to be like that. So that's what I feel about like the whole like what type of artist you are. Because at the end of the day, I feel like my influences come from everywhere. Like I didn't even like listen to hip hop until like my brother like put me on like I want to say like 5th grade, and like I was listening to like pop and like country for a minute, so like probably like a whole year, and I was like, yo, this shit hard. But as soon as I think, to be honest with you, I think it was like Drake, like best I ever had. Like that shit, like I remember my brother would play it and I would clown like, bro, turn that shit off. But at the end of the day, I started bumping it and I was like, yo, this shit is crazy.
It's a classic.
And like best I ever had, like I want to say like So Far Gone was like probably one of my most like, as far as artists and everything, it was one of like the most like influential albums for me, just because like best I ever had and like Successful, like those were like songs that like the song and like the tone and everything, those are just songs that like really inspired me to like want to like make music.
Right.
So I would say like the most like inspirational artist to me is like a Drake or like Kid Cudi, like I mentioned like fucking 5 times already. And I want to say like more recently like Bad Bunny, like Bad Bunny's fire.
Damn.
And like I'm Hispanic myself, so like I even went through the whole thing of like making music in Spanish. Like I'm still waiting on like to have like a lane so I could do stuff like that.
Damn, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, like I have shit that's in Spanish, but it's like how random would it be if I just put out like a Spanish song and like people don't even know who I am yet. So
Yeah. Backtracking a little bit to your shit with Peep and Makonnen, like being in the studio with them, what would you say that like you learned from them that's like helped you develop your career like to where you're at right now?
I want to say they genuinely like they did not give a fuck about anything. Like a lot of people might like speculate it or like question it, but like Peep is like a real fucking like rock star, bro. Like he did not give a fuck. Like if you would tell him some shit, it's not like he was disrespectful or anything like how people would interpret it like a rock star. Because he was like the nicest dude like ever. Like everything. If you guys watch the documentary, like that shit is so like right on the bullseye on like how he was. Like he was very selfless, and like even when like I flew into London, because we were like in a rush, so like yo, like fly in, they're gonna drive you straight to the studio, and I was like, all right, cool. As soon as I got there, he didn't ask me to do anything. Like he was like, bro, like they got you like a hotel, right? I'm like, yeah. They got you like money, like they got you bread, so like you can like walk around, like do whatever you want, like all this shit, like you're taken care of. I'm like, yeah, bro, like they're taking me. It's like, all right, good shit. Like he didn't give a fuck about anything. Like he was like, you're good. Like that's all he cared about, and that's how it was with everybody. And but I want to say one thing I learned from them is like not giving a fuck, because there's some songs where like even me now are like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like, and like even while recording, I was like, yo, like I don't know about this shit, but they didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. Like they would commit to it and like do it and just like go with it. And that's like, I feel like what a lot of like people like they like get very like, they'll start something and then they'll be like, nah, fuck it. Like with them, it's like, nah, let's do this shit, let's finish it. No matter how weird the beat was, no matter how weird the flow or lyrics were, like, just fucking do it. Makonnen, I think his work ethic, like, I feel like Makonnen doesn't get the credit he deserves, like, on a lot of shit, and his work ethic, bro, like, it's just crazy. Like, he could literally, like, knock out, like, 30 songs, like, in a session, like, easy. It's just as simple as, like, load the beat up, he'll freestyle, and then you just go back and, like, rearrange shit, so you have a hook, so you have everything, and that's it. Like, he was really one of the first people that I was, like, really, like, wowed by, like, his work ethic, and we're definitely linking up in the future. I feel like he had a lot of, like, political shit going on with his stuff, and it's just a matter of, like, reconnecting and, like, doing stuff like that. I haven't talked to him in, like, a year, so.
Yeah, after all this lockdown shit, probably get back in with him, which would be dope.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for like, young A&Rs, producers, engineers, music industry executives? What advice would you give those guys?
I think coming this far with everything and like everything that I've been through, the best advice I have is like the simplest shit, and it's literally just like, as fucked up as it sounds, it's like just shut the fuck up and like work. Cause like a lot of people work and then they work for a little bit, like put their head down, and then like look up to see like where's my accomplishments? Like where's my
exactly? Where's my thumbs
where's
up?
my pat on the back? Like where's like what's up? I can honestly say that's like the best like advice I can give anyone. And like if they take that advice and they truly like follow it, like you'll get so far. Just because like I literally did that, like I literally just shut the fuck up. I didn't expect anything. Like honestly, like where I'm at right now is nowhere where I thought I would be like 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago, I was just this kid like trying to figure out like, yo, like if I worked at a studio, like that'd be crazy. Like, nah, hell no. Like just do things without expecting things, or don't expect things from anyone, and like you'll get so far. And that's like the simplest, like shortest response I have for that. And like that's all I can really say about it.
Facts. Yeah, it's such like it's simple advice, but it's so true. It's like stick to the basics.
I feel like
shit.
so many people are just caught up like, damn, like when am I gonna get my shit? Or like when am I gonna like reach my goal? Like what I'm gonna do? Like there's no timeline for anything, bro. Like you can literally wake up tomorrow and like accomplish your fucking all your goals you wanted, like on some like, you just don't know. Like it's just a matter of like, are you gonna be prepared when that time comes? Producers, y'all are worried about like placements. Y'all are worried about like, damn, like I just wish people would listen to my beats. Stop. Like first off, I'm gonna tell y'all like this shit right now. Like nobody internet money wakes up, looks at their message requests and like, oh shit, this dude has beats. Like let me listen to him. Like nobody does that shit. So don't do that. Literally like just work, and like your work will speak for itself.
Right.
Especially with artists, like even artists that are trying to get signed or like whatever. Like it's cool that I'm an artist and I get to see like this side of it, because like all I do is literally just drop music and like try to make the best stuff that I can make, and just let the rest like figure itself out. So especially with artists, it's like, bro, just make music, just drop it like normal. Like don't worry about anything else that comes with it. Like whatever's gonna come with it is gonna find you. Like you don't have to find anyone. So that's my best advice. Just because that's like what I've seen work the most. Like we've never like signed an artist that like has been hitting us up or like spamming us or like whatever. Like we've never done that. We find that because of the quality of the work and like the way that they present themselves on their own.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, bro. And the last thing I want to ask you, bro, is like, what's next for you in your music career and stuff as an artist?
Right now, like I said, I have my next 4 singles. I've been trying to drop my next single. It's like a summer vibe that I was gonna drop it, and then fucking it was kind of like the tail end of like this whole like lockdown. And I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna wait. So I rescheduled it, and then the riots happened, and obviously like that's not a good time to drop anything.
Yeah.
So I pushed it back even further, and then the date that I had pushed it back, the distribution company like fucked up on something, or like it had like the old release date, so they like rejected it. So I had to resubmit it. So July 3rd should be my next single, and that's gonna be the start of a lot. I got a song with Lil Spirit, and I also got more people that I'm working with. I just don't like, I usually don't work with people, but like these songs are just crazy. It's like the best stuff I've made, and I'm just really excited to share it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, man. And well, you guys heard it here first, bro. July 3rd, Air's dropping his next single, and he's gonna have a song with Lil Spirit and more shit coming out. He's got Redbone out right now. If you guys haven't heard it yet, it's fucking crazy. It's streaming on all platforms right now, so definitely get that. Gonna drop it down right here. Air, bro, we appreciate you tuning in for the show and hopping on, bro.
Of course, man. I appreciate you for reaching out.
Yeah, of course, man.
I look forward to the rest of the things you do.
100%, bro. Hey, I'll catch you later.
All right, man. Take care.
Way too many motherfuckers in this bitch not to treat you right, baby.